Hello.
Hello.
It's been a long time since I've recorded one of these, so hopefully you can just get back into it. I've been working. Uh, Actually, I don't remember when the last episode was when I uploaded it. I think it was last like fall season or like early winter or something like that. But anyway, yeah, was finishing up my third year, and then I did co-op, and then this is my last year of school, and I got my friend Felix with me this fine evening. How's it
Hello.
going?
It's going all right.
We've been talking for a while before recording. 'Cause what am I doing?
You're
Okay,
breaking the illusion. What?
I'm breaking the illusion. Yeah, no, okay, all right. That's yeah. Anyway, today I wanted to talk about the. Actually, we were going through like a lot of topics, and I guess I just decided to talk about the replication crisis that's currently happening in a lot of literature, but a lot in psychology. And so I'll just kind of go over what it is, and then kind of like ask Felix for his thoughts and if he has any questions, and otherwise, and then we can kind of go over maybe different solutions, what my professors have like, and like what different literature has said as like solutions, and whether or not you think it's like it makes sense in the like in the overall scheme of things to like the public. Sound okay?
Yep.
So
I represent a clueless viewer.
you represent the general public, the being informed, smart public. I also decided for the first time to use the art that I made for my channel backdrop, but looking at it now, I realize there are a lot more mistakes in it than I thought, but I'm still pretty proud of it because, anyways.
That's
Okay,
cool.
thank you. I appreciate that. So the replication crisis in psychology, at least, I know it's like the same principle in other like fields of research like biology, chemistry, physics, and whatever. But like psychology has some just minor differences on certain publication, but for the most part, the general umbrella idea is that old studies are either hard or impossible to redo in the new age, or um, old studies that showed significant differences between control and experimental groups were um, actually just like one of many studies that did that experiment. And the many studies that weren't published were because they were not significant, because they failed. And, you know, in back in the day, it was uncool, quote unquote, to publish not significant studies. So like if your study was like not would like didn't show a difference, or if your study didn't didn't like impact or change the research and just said this doesn't exist, or um, was like a copy of someone else's that showed it existed, then you couldn't publish it. So like there were three kind of main things in the replication crisis. So like old studies not being able to become studies in today. So one of them was, like I mentioned, not being able to replicate, like redo the study using the same methods, participants, and data analysis. Um, the other one is like the study is just one study of that type that was significant, whereas many other studies were not significant. So it's like one out of 100 were significant, and that was the one that was published, whereas the 99 that weren't published showed no significant result. And so that, like that value, that study doesn't show anything, because it's like one of 100 that showed something, whereas the other, like the average, if you compiled all that 100 average, would show that it was nothing. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Mhm.
And then the third way, God, why can't I remember it? I have it like written down, um, but it was basically like, um, Yeah, can't replicate. Um, the result was significant where many others weren't significant, or um, or oh yes, old studies would not get approval if they were just copies of other studies. So like kind of similar to that thing where it's like 1 in 100 were significant. Those other 99 had to have very very good arguments to like grants and institutions to redo that first study, kind of
I
thing.
see.
Because like nobody wants to do like a copycat. No one wants to support a copycat basically.
Well, what is it? Isn't it just um pecking? If the
Yeah, that's all it was. But it's like their idea was that, oh, if we say that it's that like this study did what it did, we're not impacting the literature. So like the whole thing back in the day was, oh, you know, people are gonna buy journals that show impacts to like the science community and the future. So why would I want to publish something that won't get my names written in textbooks? You know, do you see what I mean?
right,
But that's but that's like the thing, like, most if you replicated something and it didn't show a positive like the amount of like loopholes and just garbage that had to be sifted through, because it's like, okay, it's super hard to even get approval to do a replication study back in the day of a study that just happened, right? Like study A showed some result. Study
right,
B wants to replicate study A and has to like fight like granting agencies like, yeah, this is worth it, like, we don't trust their methods and so we're going to redo them, and if it doesn't show anything then we know that they messed with something, right?
right.
But people were like, yeah, but like if it's true then we're going to slap you.
I
But like
see.
that's like the two-faced nature though, because once they get approval for it, if it's not significant they have another hard time trying to publish it, because people only care about publishing significant results, right? Like, oh look, our experiment showed that there's a difference between the control group and the experiment group. But like this guy's whole point was to, you know show that there was no difference, and nobody wants to publish that, but that was the point and that's how he got his funding.
Hmm.
So that's the second thing. And
I
then the
see.
third thing is like, okay, study A did all his nonsense and stuff, and now in the present where we care about different things and like a lot of people care about good research as opposed to more research,
Hmm.
it's like shit, like we can't we can't show that this thing was true no matter how many times we try and how many people try it. So like, do we say it's false or do we say it's like a matter of time that changed that? Because like, sure, yeah, things can change over time, people, culture, um like it's a whole thing, like even with like the pandemic and everything moving online. Like my the grad student that I'm working with, he his thesis project in like undergrad was like, oh, is there a significant difference between testing in person and online, right? But the
Hmm.
ethics board was like, yeah, you can't test in person, there's COVID outside. And he was like, but please. And the ethics board was like, this fucking guy said please. So yeah.
I mean, even during the height of COVID, like he couldn't like couldn't he have argued that if he took the like proper safety measures, it still would have
Yeah, like he had that kind of like justification, but
right
or not justification, but like that like
argument.
argument. Yeah, like this is like his justification was that like, everything is gonna go online. Like, how are studies impacted by needing to go online? A lot of psychological tests are done in person. Like the Tower of Hanau, the Hanoi, Hanoi. I
I've
forgot
heard
how.
of it. I don't remember what it looks
You
like.
used to everybody played with it as a kid. It's like the three tower, like the three wooden peg, like cylinder pegs, and you have the
Okay.
colored rings that go and expand from bottom to top, or from top to bottom. So like the red small circle at the top, then yellow's a little bit wider, and you had to like use moves to make the tower go to another peg.
Oh, okay, I
You
see.
remember? Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's a like they use that as a psychological test because
Really?
yeah, so what they do is they count the number of moves it takes. So like you could play it on your phone and stuff. Like there are websites for it and everything. And there are a lot of actually psychological tests that you could find online. There's this one website called cognitivefun.com or cognitivefun.net, and you could just do like memory tests and like visual tests and stuff like that. And so the
Right.
Tower of Hanoi, like they count the number of moves because like they're trying to test for um, planning. So planning is a certain variable in the psychological domain of executive function, which is a lot in the frontal lobe. Part of it's in the parietal lobe because you have to manipulate it in a certain way. Part of it's in the occipital lobe, like in the back where the visual is, because you have to kind of see it. I'm sure there's probably like different ones for people who are like hard of sight or hard of touch, but um,
Hmm.
those probably have like less like validity um, or like less scientific impact or less scientific backing because they probably don't have enough samples
Not
to
enough
test.
representation for that.
Yeah, enough to like
Hmm.
show that it's like just as good of a measure. um and yeah, so it's like how far forward can you think of the moves, or how many, or like how effectively can you see a pattern in moving like 5 rings from the left tower to the middle tower and then the left tower to the right tower. Like someone with a disorder in their like visual perception um, is called agnosia, or visual agnosia, I should say, because there's like auditory agnosia and tactile agnosia. I'm pretty sure. I hope I'm not pronouncing that wrong. But it basically just means like you can see through it, but your brain can't translate what you see to your mind.
Okay.
So it's like, um, I'll give you an example. Um, they did this test where this person had right visual field agnosia.
Okay.
Um, and so they took a piece of paper that they could not quote unquote see, where they couldn't perceive any information. But they
Okay.
just said, okay, we're going to ask you top or bottom, and we want you to pick. So on the paper, on the top was a house that was on fire. On the bottom, the house wasn't on fire. So they
Okay.
asked, and the person said bottom. The bottom one didn't have fire on it. And
Hmm.
they kept switching like the houses and stuff. Um, and the person chose the non burning house 10 times out of 11.
Okay.
And they did this with another person, and they showed similar things 6 out of 7. And so it goes to show that, like, there's a strong correlation, possibly even like a causation, that someone can perceive information, or someone can their brain is perceiving information and translating it for other parts of the body, except for their mind, like their eyes from their to their mind. Do you get what I mean?
I don't.
Because like the brain will choose the non-burning house and then tell
Right.
the person, because your brain,
But
like your
how do you
subconscious,
know
will
that?
communicate. You don't. Like that's why I'm saying like it's a correlation.
Right.
It's like the likelihood of choosing the non-burning house was significantly different than chance, like 50-50.
Okay.
But there's no, like, I don't think they have an effective way to test, to like show causation, because I'm pretty sure that would be unethical.
Right.
or um like to an extent like almost impossible, I guess, because like you would have to consider um like how would the person choose if they could see, and like obviously you would like assume that they would choose the non-burning house. um but it's like I can't, you know what, I don't even know how they would do causation, like because causation would be like you manipulate a change and the experiment follows, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you already assume that the answers that they will give is the representation of your manipulated variable in the experiment. And
Right.
so it like what variable would you manipulate? Like how much they can perceive or what they're perceiving? You see what I mean? They're just like
Yeah.
it's like really difficult to think of that, I guess.
Yeah.
Um but no, like my point was what was my where did I go? Where did I go with this visual agnosia thing? Oh man,
I don't know.
I
That
gotta
was kind of
backtrack
along
here.
for the ride.
Yeah,
Sorry.
well, no, it's okay. It's okay. I mean, let's talk about something. I don't remember. It's okay. I mean, it's good to
Roll back
like.
the tapes.
It's, yeah. Let me just pause the recording, go back, re-record. No, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I guess we can always circle back to like the replication crisis. But yeah, like some of the things that have been suggested by like the literature is to publish everything. And so like I think a lot of good studies kind of get like thrown under the rug still, because it's like if you have a good study, right? And you have
Right.
another person who has a there it'd be a good study anyway, but not as good as yours. Like your methodology is more sound and stuff like that, but the other person has, let's say, like more funding or has more participants or is has one feature that the journal you're applying to likes more. That study will probably get published even if your methodology is more sound or stuff like that.
Right.
And that's not to say like I said, like the other study, yeah, there's still a good study. Obviously, like they got funding and stuff like that, but it's just like um, the amount of competitiveness for studies is super high, and the amount of journals that exist is not as high in my opinion as there as like new science proposes there should be for people to be able to publish what they're studying,
Right.
especially like if your study is like a low like um like a low funded study.
Right.
It doesn't look as like pretty. It's like, oh, we only needed $5,000 because each participant got like $1, and we had 200 participants, so it's only $200, and the study only took us 4 months to run. So like if you have like
I
one
think.
undergraduate student and he's he's volunteering and you have a graduate student, you're paying them minimum wage, and then the rest of the money just goes into the back pocket of the PI. It's like, oh, well, that's not as pretty of a number as 200,000, like, oh, my nicotine dependence study, I was looking at people who are heavy vape users and the effects on their sleep and their cognition in the day, like,
Right.
um, I think that's
Usually gets boiled down to bigger number, better
bigger number,
study.
better study, bigger person, better study. Like,
Right.
the bigger your name in the thing, no matter how shit your study is, it's like, damn, you're the department chair of psychology at U of T. Yeah, of course I'll publish your study looking at I don't know what's something obscene, like that would still fly through, like that would still go under the radar, but like it's just like kind of weird. looking at indigenous sadness among students.
Something that's like not very interesting, but still significant.
Something not interesting but significant. Everybody loves talking about depression. Um, I feel like more like niche disorders.
Something that's like really mundane
Oh,
would
mundane. Oh
probably,
yeah, yeah. That's
yeah.
that's a good one. Like ooh. I got one like daily or not daily, but like um more like used substances that people are just like used to like not heavy substances like caffeine,
Right.
like oh caffeine dependence, or like heavy caffeine users and their like neuropsychological changes and stuff like that. It's like if you have like 4 or 5 cups of coffee a day, that's way more than like the average. That where like the average is like 1 to 2, um, or I don't know if it's gotten higher. Let's say like 7 cups of coffee a day,
That's
which is
crazy.
that's a lot, right? But like I wouldn't put it past some students who have like 5 to 7 cups of coffee a day. I remember one day in in like I was just studying on campus and I had like 5 6 cups in that one day. It was just double doubles because double doubles like ice cream. Well, not ice cream. It's like drinking like cream though. You know,
Yeah,
it's very sweet.
it's sweet. It's definitely sweet.
So I don't know. I was just going down like muffins and ice and double doubles and stuff. And
Your
you
hands end up shaking.
no, like I
Oh,
don't get like the hand tremors from caffeine. I don't get the wake upness from caffeine. What I get from caffeine is the reduced appetite, reduced need to use the washroom for the time being until like the caffeine kind of leaves that part and I need to go poop. Um,
mm,
like anti-diuretic, so no need to go pee. Um, and like
and an
oh
addiction.
oh oh, and the headache thing, the reduced blood flow. It oh, fuck what's fucking fuck constrains blood vessels, so like
Mm-hmm.
it reduces blood flow to like the brain kind of thing. Well, I shouldn't say reduced blood flow. It's constrains the thing so your blood pressure's higher, but
Right.
because the blood vessels are constrained, there's less pressure inside your brain, so you have less of a headache.
Right.
Yeah. So like when I have a headache, I I usually don't reach for like the Tylenol, ibuprofen. I usually reach for a cup of coffee.
As you do.
As you do, and honestly, it works. I like that's what I recommend my friends who are like, "Man, I want to study, but I have a headache. Grab a cup of coffee." Yeah, but coffee makes my stomach upset. Have some bread with it, because your headache will go away. Um, yeah, I don't know. Apparently, there's 5 milligrams of caffeine in decaf. I didn't know that. I thought they
There's
just took.
caffeine in decaf.
That's what I said. But I thought they just took like dirt from outside and just put it through like the coffee filter, and that's what they
It's
do.
well, I guess it is a decaf, not no calf.
That's true.
So it makes sense,
It
but
does. You know
it's
what? That's true. It is decaffeinated, but it's not
yeah,
fully uncaffeinated.
yeah.
We should start a business. Uncaff.
It's well, I feel like that'd be not plausible. I feel like it wouldn't be coffee at that point.
It's not. It's uncaff. Dude, we're innovators.
So you just
We can have our own
strain
research study.
water through dirt.
Yeah, man. Strained
Okay,
water. What if I strained water through coffee? Through coffee. Through chocolate.
through chocolate.
Yeah.
But chocolate still has caffeine, no?
Oh, you're right. It does have a little bit. I'm tired. I'm like forgetting certain things.
Sounds like you need
A
a
cup of
coffee.
coffee. I have
Yeah.
I have an unfinished small amount of iced cappuccino next to me, but I'm reluctant to take a drink because I feel like it's gonna like do the bubbling thing at the end of a drink onto the mic, and I don't really want to do that.
Well, I
Um,
think I think you should do it for the study.
for the study, yeah,
Yeah.
but I haven't started the study yet. I need to get like I need to write my grant application. I need to write my protocol. I need to write my I need to get my ethics done. I need to do all my ethics training. I need to hire grad students. Sometimes I need to hire undergrad. I need to hire sad volunteers. I need.
That's boring. No
Bro.
wonder, no wonder some studies can't be done today, you know?
Yeah, yeah. the the principal investigator just gets bored. He's like, "Man, fuck this study, man. Just give me the money. You guys go home." And then he gets a
Will
call
do.
from like the grant office. The grant office is like, "Yeah, we're gonna come find you."
Oof.
Uh, but yeah, maybe you know what? Maybe that's why. Um, maybe that's why so many studies are bad because they just want us to do interesting studies as opposed to. No, I've seen some pretty like mundane like old studies. Probably because they thought it was cool back in the day. But then once it was done, they
Um,
were like, "Oh, this is not cool," so nobody else wanted to copy them.
well, it could still be mundane and thought-provoking at the same time, no?
Mundane but thought provoking. I mean, yeah, I guess they're like somewhat antonyms, like, but um, I can see it. Oh, there was one thing like I think is like adjacent to the replication crisis, and it kind of also ties into like mundane and um, interesting at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
There's this concept. There are two concepts in like studies um, called reliability and validity. Um, Reliability basically talks about how um, does your study have or no is your study are your study measures able to show the same results if they were taken again.
Right.
So like an IQ test, you know, if you take or let's not do IQ test because you can increase your intelligence supposedly.
Mm-hmm.
um, there's a whole debate about that where it's like you know someone has general intelligence and so like their intelligence is like stable kind of thing and doesn't go up or down very much. There's another person who thinks intelligence is divided into eight different parts. So you have like touch intelligence, art intelligence, music intelligence, math intelligence, and stuff like that. And
Right.
you can improve them. Some people think you have a general one that can be improved. Some people think your intelligence is the same and it's regardless of how old or how much you change, it's always relative to, you know, where you're at kind of thing. I don't know. I read that like
No, that makes
once.
sense. Yeah.
I don't like that last one though because it doesn't make it didn't make too much sense to me because it's like I'm sure you know if you practice at the problems that they do on IQ on intelligence tests you pass the intelligence test which is kind of what they're designed not to do,
Not to
you know.
do.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. But yeah, anyways, like yeah, reliability, so you take like a personality test. um, your personality shouldn't change too much across a year, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
you can be a little bit more open or a little bit more like extroverted or a little
Doesn't
bit
that
more
depend on
nice.
your age?
It depends on a lot of factors. Your age, there are even like courses and like seminars where you can kind of learn to be like more assertive, more confident, more creative, imaginative, stuff like that, right? And that can
Mm-hmm.
slightly change your score. But age is a big one. Culture is a big one. Like going from like here to let's say like a collectivistic society, because like Canada and North America is very individualistic. I guess I
Mm-hmm.
don't really know too much about Mexico, but like let's say you go to like Japan or something where
Nippon des.
Nippon des, um, like oh man, I'm gonna say that no one's gonna get that.
Hmm.
I okay, this is gonna be like TMI for the podcast, but it's fine. Um,
No, no. I think
no,
I think they'll
you
get
think it's
it.
fine? Okay,
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
think they'll get it.
I'm gonna explain it anyway.
Nah.
No, okay, the Nippon des thing. I recently went out with someone who was Japanese, and the way to say Japan in Japanese, one of the ways is Nippon, and one of the suffixes for a lot of like nouns and like direction and stuff like that is des, and so we always had like a joke, Nippon des. So yeah, there we go. Ah, short and sweet. That's good enough. You didn't want me to explain it?
I think it's better left as is.
Nah, nah.
I don't think it's too hard to guess.
Uh, nah, it's fine.
Anyways, you're getting
Anyways,
sidetracked.
yeah, I digress. Like here between here and like a collectivistic society, like your priorities change, and so your personality might shift slightly, but your personality doesn't change too much. Usually, usually, trauma and stuff like that can also change it very fast. But like if you take a personality test that someone makes in like January, and then you take it again in December, your score shouldn't change that much, right? So
Right.
that can determine reliability. Or like if you take a test and that test was determining how extroverted you are, if the person takes that entire test, divides it in two, so divides like let's say like odd versus even questions, and compares how similar they are, like how similar your responses are, that should also be very high. Like your the similarity between like like, oh, I like going out with my friends, and I and am always the heart of the party kind of thing. Like those are two very similar kind of ideas, right? Those two things should score very similarly in this test, and so if they don't, then um, well, I would question the participant for the most part, but um,
Right.
like those two ideas like should be correlated. They should go up at the same time. So if you divide
Right.
the test in two and it's testing the same thing, the entire test is testing the same thing, both, both test halves be should correlate. Should basically like,
Right.
show that it's testing the right thing.
Right.
Um, or if you give like one person two tests that test the same thing, it should both tests should correlate, which is basically like the halves thing. And so that's reliability. So like showing how reliable your test is, taking it twice or taking it more than once.
Mm-hmm.
Validity is how much or how accurate does your test show it's actually testing for what you designed it for.
Okay.
So if I have um, like a test on like depression, so like it's a depression scale, like the higher you score, um, the more likely it shows that you show depressive symptoms. Let's say if I put
Mm-hmm.
something on that test like um, like I'm a good negotiator, that's not really looking for depressive like symptomatology, right?
Right.
Or like I can draw pictures clearly when I
Right.
think of them. That sounds more like creativity or like artistic ability, not really
Right.
like depression. So validity is talking about how well you can assess what your test is designed for. And there are different kinds of like measuring validity. There's like internal validity, which is actually measuring for the criteria you're testing for. There's external validity, which is like in the outside world, how um, how well does your thing make sense in the outside world? So like if I'm testing someone on on like something related to alcohol, people
Right.
normally drink alcohol at a bar or like at home or in some way. And so, it doesn't really make sense to have someone give it to you um, and like if they could give you like a pill, let's say, just for the sake of my example, it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
really make sense. It can't you can't externalize that research well because it doesn't make sense in a real world context.
Right.
And then there's something that's very, very similar to external validity, which is like ecological validity. So it's like, how well does this translate to people's daily life, people's norms, and stuff like that? The only like I feel like they're two very, very similar, if not the same things. But like I guess like one nuanced difference is that ecological validity um, can talk a little bit more to the impacts on people's lives, whereas external validity is just how realistic it is.
Okay, I see.
So yeah, it's like small, almost nothing difference. But there are different flavors of validity. There's like content validity. So are the questions on your test related, or not related, but are the questions on your test realistic examples of questions that would be on any kind of test for that topic? So like, I'm a good negotiator doesn't really seem like it would exist in the theoretical bank of depression questions. you
Right.
know I am sad, now that's a little bit more likely.
But there's no way to measure this, so
There's no
how do
way to
you?
measure it um, other than asking experts, looking at past research, looking at research that's opposite or that's similar, and comparing it. So like if you're looking at
Mm-hmm.
like an optimism scale, let's say, and your test matches that one more, it may
Mm-hmm.
not be good to test it to look at it in a depression context, or it may be really good. It depends what you're looking at. But
Mm-hmm.
you're right, there is no actual way to test it. There's no like statistics for it, let's say.
So you
uh,
just kind of have to
that's actually something we talked about in my
guess.
third year course. Yeah,
Right.
like educated guess, I guess, just
Right.
to give it a little bit of flour. Like one of the things we
Mm-hmm.
talked about is like, yeah, for validity, it's like a lot of the time it just comes down to asking experts, doing research, and seeing whether or not it matches other things that have shown the same thing in the past. There's something um, like criterion validity, which is like, does your test also can your test predict the outcome of that idea on other tests? So, like, if someone is doing the depression scale and then someone has an interview with a therapist and they're going to diagnose them, will those two match up? So that the therapist says this person doesn't have depression, they actually have like bipolarism, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
Bipolarism has a depressive component, but it also has manic components. So if your depression scale also includes manic stuff to be like coded differently than regular questions. So how you can say I am sad, but you can also
Mm-hmm.
put on a depression scale I am happy and just reverse the score. And so it works for a depression scale because
Oh, okay,
the
I see.
opposite score is just like it's like the negative.
Right.
But if the person says, yes, I am happy, or like, you know, 5 instead of 1, that I am happy,
Mm-hmm.
then you're like, oh, okay, well, that's a little bit weird considering the rest of your answers are all like, you know, I get sad during the day.
Right.
There's something like construct validity, which is looking at um, whether or not. Oh shit! Did I forgot. No, I need to know this actually. This is not good.
Uh-oh.
Well, like a construct in psychology, or I guess in like research, basically just means like an abstract idea um, that needs formalizing. So,
Mm-hmm.
uh, like creativity, that doesn't really have a concrete definition in terms of how you can say someone is, or no, 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 there's no particular set of attributes to give to someone that can always fit the description of creativity. So like if someone
Mhm.
can draw a really good picture, it's like, oh, maybe they're not creative, maybe they're just artistic. It's like, okay, well, how do you distinguish that?
Right.
What if someone's a good writer? It's like, oh yeah, they're creative. It's like, okay, well, does your definition of creativity also fit people who can write really well as opposed to draw? Or like, does your description of creativity even consider, artistic value at all? Like, what if someone is really good at problem solving? Is problem solving in creativity at the same time? Is it different than creativity? How are you gonna distinguish that kind of thing? Is it significant enough to distinguish those kinds of things? Like those are, I guess, like kind of like primer questions into considering what something might be a construct. You kind of get what I like mean. If you have like an example or something you wanna like pitch in, go for it.
Uh,
Or like if my explanation is just like too redundant or something, you can also tell me that too.
no, I'm just like maybe I'm getting caught up on like the creativity thing, but it's like wouldn't you refer to like the literal definition of each? So like being artistic is just, you having skills in drawing, and you can basically um draw something to its reference really well. Like you excel in that skill, whereas creativity would just mean you have um like a imaginative way of expressing that thing.
The thing is, like you posing that is good. It's just that there's always going to be someone in the literature that disagrees or wants to change it slightly, and we'll have different tests for different things about creativity. Like creativity, can you test it with one test? You know, like you mentioned, it's like or like similar to what you said. Like what if I just wanted to test artistic creativity, right? Or writing creativity, or design creativity, or
Okay,
is there a test for creativity in general?
right.
You know what I mean?
I see. But like I still think you can generalize a I guess generalizing is bad for research, but
No, no,
um
no.
no.
Continue. No, no, no. I mean, like, it just depends in what context. It's like if you're generalizing, um, like, um, if you're generalizing too broadly without considering like the limitations of this generalization, then you're gonna start making assumptions from that data that
All right.
uh, that would lead you to like logical fallacies. So like, um, you might do I think it's called a decomposition logical fallacy, where it's you're ascribing um, parts of the whole to parts of the few. So it's like the bigger picture doesn't always reflect the smaller picture, kind of thing.
I see.
But no, no, no. Like there are generalizable stuff. But continue. Sorry for interrupting.
No, but like you could just contrast each definition. So for
Yeah,
example,
you can.
like so what is being a good writer?
Like you want
I'm
me to
asking you.
answer it? Oh,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, being a good writer would, you know, tend to include things like persuasive writing, engagement, not digressing so much or digressing so much, kind of like this podcast. Uh, I don't know. Those are kind of attributes I would give to creative writing.
Well, no, just being a good writer, not being a creative writer. Because I feel
Being a
like these are
good
two
writer,
different things. Yeah.
being a good writer, clear, engaging, um, someone who can get their point across. Like what kind of answer are you looking for, basically?
Basically, like I feel like if you take the differences of being a good writer and being a creative writer, you can find you can find things that you can measure both in, right?
Oh, yeah. So it's a good point that you made that, because that's what that's what some research tends to do. So what
Mm-hmm.
they'll like when they did the big five um, personality traits. Do you know the big five? I think I've talked about them before, even in a previous podcast.
I'm not
Like
gonna
the
lie, I've forgotten them.
openness, conscientiousness, extroversion,
Right.
agreeableness, neuroticism, like those ones. When they
Mm-hmm.
did that, what they did was like almost like kind of exactly what you said. They gave people like tests related to like every they basically like asked people to describe like parts of personality and like gave them quizzes and like interviews and questionnaires and stuff like that, and then they assembled this list of factors, and then all the factors that were like similar to each other they put under one, like or all of the I guess like adjectives and parts of a personality that they thought were similar to each other were put under one factor, and like it was like openness. And so the idea with that is that the idea with that is if you look at two factors, they don't correlate all the time. So like if I measure someone for openness and I measure someone for conscientiousness, um, a person can be very conscientious and very open, or very conscientious and not open, or not open, not conscientious, and um, not conscientious but open. Like it's like none of the big five have to be at the same level every time,
Right.
right? And so like they got to that point by looking at similar things and distinguishing them. Kind of
Okay.
exact like I hope that's exactly what you meant, but that's
So
the picture
yeah.
that I got from you. It's called factor analysis. That's the
Okay.
type of uh, I guess research dissemination
Mm-hmm.
technique is what they use. But yeah, it's actually good that you pointed that out.
I don't know.
That's one
I
thing
just
that's difficult to replicate. If I want to come back to the replication crisis, just because of how big the research was, they did it in like some like 70 countries or something, and talked to like a
right.
bajillion people and got 100 bajillion answers and a bajillion million other things that had to go through, and I don't even know how big their budget was, and like yeah. But
A
I'm
lot
not a big
hungry.
fan of personality psychology, so
That's fair enough.
mostly because of one prof in school. But anyways, construct validity that I talked about before, I want to amend what I said before. Um, Basically means that how well does your test measure up to other tests in the same field? So if I give you like a depression scale, does it match up with other depression scales that show like someone is depressed because that other one had high criterion validity, because someone did an interview on a depressed guy and it showed that it was that they were like unhappy or depressed, and then that scale showed that that person was depressed. And so does your test match with that test, kind of thing? Does it like is it representative of the other literature, kind of thing? Is it representative of the construct?
Is it comparable?
Is it comparable? Exactly.
All right.
And so those two things, reliability and validity, are two like key aspects in research, and you want to have kind of like I say like a lot of researchers and documentation will tend to say like, oh, you want to have both. But the thing is, like, even in like class and in textbooks, they always ask the question, can you have one without the other? So um like you can have a reliable test that isn't valid. You can test something, you can use a test and it can give you the same score 100 times.
Right.
But if your test doesn't have the right questions, it's not going to test for what you're looking for. If your test says, you know, I'm a good leader, but it's a depression test, like sure, yeah, it's reliable, but it's not a depression test. Like it's not testing for depression.
It's pointless.
It's pointless. Yeah, exactly. It's like
It's reliably pointless.
it's reliably pointless. Fucking stupid ass freaking. I'm sure someone's probably done that. Like fucking. Anyways,
Hmm.
um, um, but can something be reliable and not valid? And everyone's like, oh no, of course not. You know, in order for it to be valid, it has to be reliable. So in order for you to test what you're looking for accurately, it has to test something the same time every time, right?
Uh, I feel like there are certain caveats to this, though.
That's what I thought too. So I was like thinking like, okay, if something is like unreliable but valid. So like I feel like, over time people can change. So maybe your test has good reliability for the short term but not the long term. Something worth talking about. So it's not the same thing that I was asking, but um like it doesn't seem like it's impossible to find a test that can look at the specific thing that you're testing for, but not give you reliable scores every time, or not give you the same score every time. I mean, it sounds kind of absurd when I say it, but I don't
I
know. It
don't
doesn't.
think it's absurd because like there are things that can be measured, and it just might not be reliable because it's dependent on another factor, right?
Yeah, like a moderating variable.
I don't know what that means, but that sounds about right.
A moderating variable is like a second variable is, um, or you're looking at like one variable affecting another variable, right?
Okay.
The um, the amount that that first variable affects the other variable could be impacted by a moderating variable, so a third variable.
Yeah, the variable is just moderated by another variable.
Yeah,
Hence the name, I guess. Okay, yeah.
yeah. There's also a mediating variable, so the the amount or like the impact of one variable affecting another variable, or no. When a variable impacts another variable, both of them could be impacted by a mediating variable. So it'll affect both of them at the same time.
Okay.
It's
I
very
see.
late, so maybe that's like not a good explanation, but I hope that gets the point across.
Like one variable can
Affect
impact
both.
two. Okay.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
the moderating one is like you can kind of think of it like a funnel. Like A moderating variable, B.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um so yeah, like if there are moderating variables that exist, then like your measure could be unreliable but still valid because your test items are still good, but you just can't reliably check because of that moderating variable. And let's say it's just a part of nature. You know what? Yeah, that works. Honestly, that's sound. I'm gonna bring that up with my professor.
Hmm.
I'm gonna write a paper about that. I'm gonna I'm gonna get all the funds in the world. I'm gonna put
Be
your
rich.
name as first author.
No.
You have see. Here's the thing. Like the stupidest thing. This this investigator, right? Like this researcher,
Right.
could have done zero work. I mean, zero, absolutely nothing. Didn't even look at a participant
Right.
and still get first author.
I'm not surprised by that.
Yeah, like, or it's like, it's just so stupid. It's like, yeah, I get it. You're a big name, and like, it's probably like the only reason why this thing is getting published. But just,
I think this brings it back to like the point earlier on where you were talking about how even though this one study can be published, even though it's probably worse than another study,
yeah,
but the only differentiating factor is like a size of a variable.
yeah,
Um, I feel like this could be solved, including the author thing. Everything could be solved by just having a overseeing like commission, right?
See, you would think that one doesn't exist because of these things, but one does, and they
Well,
don't care.
clearly it's not
It's
doing
not doing
enough.
its job.
Yeah.
They don't care.
Well, like okay, like
Or maybe they just maybe it's not that they don't care, but it's just like you're not gonna say no to a bag of money, you know?
yeah, but like who's their boss?
Their
To
boss
put it bluntly.
their boss isn't doing their job.
Well, no, but like I think their reach is just not far enough, you know?
Mm, mm. Yeah, okay.
Well, I mean, I don't know what this commission is like. I'm
I don't
totally
know the
like
specific names. I mean, each one has like each
no, I know, but
um
like
journal has
what are
their own
they?
like vetting system.
It's
Each
per
institution,
journal.
per journal, per institution, funding agencies even have like a vetting system. It's all like everybody wants to get a piece of the pie.
Well, I feel like if each has their own, then they don't really have incentive to really enforce it, right?
Yeah,
They look out for their own interest, not like the interest of every party.
yeah.
So,
Actually, it's funny. Like I had to do this like animal ethics training, even though I'm not working with animals. I don't know. And like the in the modules that they like had like the video PowerPoint stuff, it was just like when it talked about the consequences of not following the actions. It's like you could face jail time. The school's reputation could go down. um you could lose funding. The school could lose funding. you can
wow.
you can taint the reputation of your professor. You can taint the reputation of the school.
Whoa.
It's every single consequence had something that impacted you, then something that impacted the school right after.
Right.
I thought, like, okay, like I get it, but I thought that was hilarious. This is the funniest thing.
I think the only reason why they put it there is because their message is it's bigger than you.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think they
But
inadvertently just
it
made
kind of just
it.
makes it seem like this like it kind of depersonalizes it too much.
Yeah.
It's like okay, I guess I'm doing the research not for anyone's benefit but the school.
I think it can be taken that way, and I think
Maybe
you and I
maybe
take
it's
it
like
that way
pessimistic
sometimes.
that, but
Yeah.
like yeah, fuck the norm. It's like you gotta look at it from every angle. You
Yeah.
know, I don't know. I think like yeah,
I mean,
sure, it's like not it's like a non-standard way to look at it or something like that, but I don't know. It's like it doesn't it doesn't make sense that like the people that are doing the research have to feel like their impact is worth less because they're at somewhere that holds this reputation or that has these regulations kind of thing, you know?
I think it's a little too vague for like a person to really be that concerned about it. Because like,
Yeah.
the reputation, like that's a very light way of I
Yeah,
guess.
but like in the same vein, it's like, the school cares about their reputation. It's like if shit hits the fan, I care about myself and my own
Yes.
well-being, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, tough luck school. I'll taint your reputation. I don't care. Try me. Actually, no, I'm joking.
I care.
If anybody listens to this from the school, please, please, please,
I
please,
was
please.
gonna.
I'm not actually gonna do anything. Just put me at grad school and I'll be okay. Just
Well,
do
I mean,
that and
I
just
think I think people are very
please,
selfish.
please
I think people care about
don't.
themselves before they care
I'm so
about
sorry.
like the school. Rightly so, right?
Yeah, totally. No, no, no. I care more about the school.
You
I
care, yeah, you care more about the school. Yeah, you're right.
yeah, yeah. Right, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
please. I'm tired. Just cut me some
You're
slack,
you're
please.
you're a special case. You
I'm
care about the score more than other people.
yeah, I care about the
Yeah,
school the most. I'm the most
yeah.
hardworking person in the world. Just take my word for it, please. I worked like
No,
40
no,
hours
no,
this
no,
week and I
no,
had
no,
a
no.
meeting with my thesis guy and I had
Yeah,
another that I had to do like 4 classes.
I think you
Just
come behind the professors at the school, you know?
I come behind everyone. Just oh, okay.
Come on, you gotta pander a bit more,
I
Alex. Come on.
I I I'm 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 a good boy. Just please accept me into grad school. Okay. Anyways, enough 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 of that nonsense. um.
On to our sponsor.
Oh yeah. I forgot to mention them.
Yeah.
Thank you to our sponsor today, my wallet and my time,
Wow.
and Felix's wallet and time.
Well, what wallet?
Yeah, right. Fucking, I'm
The
bro.
investment condom?
I
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Yo, really, really today, dude. Fuck.
That's
Um,
for a different podcast.
yeah, right. I'm gonna start a finances podcast.
Yeah.
I'm broke, you know. I'm broke,
I'm broke.
but it's like BROQUE with an accent because it's like I'm broke, but like I'm like stylistically broke. You know, I
Maybe you
drive my
should be
own
in
car.
marketing.
Maybe I should be in marketing.
Yeah.
Market to students who are also broke.
Broke.
Uh, yeah, I think that's a good like holistic look at like the replication crisis, different attributes about it, different things, how how um certain features of tests can and can't be looked at, what they mean in the context of research, um, and different attributes of studies and stuff like that, and study politics, office politics, and research. I don't know if you have any closing ideas or things you want to make a note of.
Think I'm equally as tired as you are right now, so probably
Yeah.
not.
Well, I mean, still, it was good. It was good. It was good talking, and thank you very much for joining me. I know it was a little bit late, you know, Friday night, but but
I reached 4 a.m. yet.
yeah, we haven't reached 4 a.m. That's I want to upload enough episodes so that becomes like an inside joke.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it'll happen.
it'll happen. I hope so.
Yeah, you'll get there.
Yeah, we'll see. I got a bunch of ideas, but I like I need to be more awake for some of them. Like I have this one where actually no, spoilers. Actually no, you know what? This is trailer. Yeah, there we
It's perfect segment.
go. A future episode might include a study looking at like the idea of witness testimonies. So, like how a witness testimony, like you see something happen once, and then you have to be a witness for it. And so there's this researcher. She's huge in the forensic research area. I think her name is like Elizabeth Loftus or something like that. I don't remember her name, but she basically like studies like false memories and stuff like that. And so I designed this. I like to think it's the most concrete, bulletproof way, realistic way to test false memories, and it's doable if you have enough funds. And I was on the precipice of doing um, a proposal data analysis plan. So I would do all the statistical stuff for that study too. So
Ooh,
yeah, man, I almost got that far, but I was on the bus, so I didn't finish it.
maybe maybe you can finish it in time for the next episode.
Yeah, maybe. I don't do it. I don't do anything on my work shifts anyway. You know, just dick around or something.
No, you do a lot. You do a lot.
I have been doing a lot this week, but I'm hoping
Yeah.
that dies down so that I can just do nothing, do homework and stuff. But yeah. Anyways, I guess that's like some fun closing remarks. To whomever listens, I hope you enjoyed. And yeah, have a good night.
Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe.